John announced as he brought his secretary, also my friend, to our home.
"She's pregnant with my child. You raise the baby."
I was dumbfounded, but my husband cheerfully continued talking without any regard for my reaction.
"Actually, she's pregnant with my child. Ideally, we'd raise the baby together, but her family is wealthy, especially her father, who's very strict and would never approve of this situation. So, this is where you come in. One more kid isn't a big deal, right?"
My husband spoke as if it were the most natural thing in the world, while his mistress looked at me with a triumphant smile.
"You know about my family background, don't you, Madison? For the baby's sake, I'm counting on you."
"I'm divorcing you. Please raise the baby on your own." As I firmly stated my decision, they both began to laugh.
"Then you're fired. Are you okay with being unemployed? You better be careful with what you say next."
Leaving those words, my husband left with her. I was more than angry. I was utterly appalled by their childish and thoughtless actions. I began preparing to give them a taste of their own medicine. I am Madison, 29 years old, working in the administrative department. I live in a rented apartment with my husband John, who's 1 year older than me, and our 3-year-old daughter, May. We met in college and were in the same club. Our relationship quickly progressed, and he confessed his feelings, starting our relationship.
"After graduating, I'm going to start a business like my dad."
He passionately talked about his future dreams back then. Inspired by his dedication and hard work, I resolved to support him. After graduation, with the support of his parents, he successfully started his business. After dating for 3 years, he proposed to me and we got engaged. I got married right after graduating from college and started working as an office worker at my husband's company, leading a busy but happy life. The company gradually grew bigger, but my husband, the president, always seemed busy. He went to work early in the morning and returned home after midnight. Sometimes he even stayed overnight at the company for work. I was worried that he might collapse from overwork. Then one day, unusually, he came home while our daughter was still awake. May, seeing her father's face after a long time, was happily frolicking around. After putting May to bed around 8 p.m., I went to the living room where my husband was sitting with a serious expression, carefully choosing his words to discuss something.
"I have a friend's situation I want to discuss. He's got a wife and a kid, but he ended up getting his mistress pregnant. He's really troubled. What would you say to him, Madison?"
I think there are circumstances only the parties involved can understand. So I have no say in this. They need to have a serious discussion, don't they? He seemed convinced by my response.
"You're right. Having a discussion is important. Thanks, that helped. I have to get up early tomorrow, so I'm heading to bed first."
I wondered why he suddenly brought up such a topic. He's so busy, yet he's taking time for a friend's consultation. Well, I might just lecture him saying, "It's your own fault." With these thoughts, I finished the rest of the housework. A week later, I was having lunch at a cafe near the company with Emily, my friend and colleague, who also works as a secretary at my husband's office. Whenever our schedules align, we have lunch together like this. Usually cheerful, she seemed a bit down today. She was talking less and didn't have much appetite, barely touching her food. "Are you okay? You don't seem well." As I expressed my concern, Emily hesitantly began to speak.
"Have things been going well with John lately?"
Taken aback by the sudden question, I honestly replied, "It's normal as always. John played with May yesterday and even discussed a friend's issue with me. I guess our relationship is good."
"That's good. He's busy, but is he sleeping well?"
As his secretary, she must be aware of his schedule. Still, something felt off. He's been really busy lately, working from early morning until late at night, but he's managing his sleep and meals well. Why do you ask all of a sudden? At my query, Emily looked uneasy, not her usual confident self.
"I want you to see this."
She showed me an ultrasound picture. "Are you pregnant?" She nodded slightly. As I looked intently at the photo, she continued.
"I've been having an affair with a married man. We were careful, but I never expected this to happen. What should I do?"
I remembered John's consultation from the day before. "Did you talk about this with my husband?"
"How did you know? Did he say something?"
I was shocked that John's friend was actually my childhood friend. I was surprised they were close enough for such a personal consultation and that she, raised by a strict father, had gotten into this situation. John seemed serious about it.
Really? I know it's wrong, but I was drawn to him. My parents would never approve. I need to talk to his wife too. I'm sorry for bringing this up suddenly, but I couldn't keep quiet thinking about you and May. What should I do?
The mention of my daughter and me brought the worst scenarios to my mind, but without solid proof, I refrained from dwelling on it deeply. You really need to reflect on this. Like I said to John, the people involved need to have a serious talk. As your childhood friend, I have a lot to say to you. Forcing a smile, I looked at Emily, who then confidently said, Talking about it has cleared my mind. I had found the answer with him, but still felt guilty. But since you are kind, I believe you'll accept my feelings. I'm feeling braver now. Well, good luck. Although I said that to her, my mind was swirling with different emotions. That night, as I put my daughter to bed, I kept thinking about my conversation with Emily. I felt terrible for suspecting John of cheating without solid proof. Looking at my daughter's sleeping face, I despised myself for such thoughts. Around midnight, John came home in high spirits. As I went to greet him at the entrance, I saw Emily leaning on him. My heart raced, realizing my suspicions were true.
I brought my friend whom I talked about yesterday. We have a long discussion ahead, so let's go to the living room.
Ignoring my stunned state, they sat on the living room sofa. Then John began to speak.
You know she's pregnant, right? She's pregnant with my child.
Emily wore a victorious smile, different from her demeanor earlier in the day.
You said it before, right? That people involved have their own circumstances and shouldn't be judged easily. It's important for everyone involved to have a thorough discussion.
His serious tone made it clear this was no joke.
That's why I brought Emily here right away.
So you both came to consult with me and mock me? I spoke sternly and John laughed it off.
No, that never happened. When Emily told me what she talked to you about, I was surprised, but it made it easier for her to talk to you. I'm actually grateful to her.
We're having a serious conversation. Stop laughing. Just tell me what you want. My frustration with John's attitude was evident. Then he dropped a bombshell.
I want you to take care of the baby. You have experience with childcare, and one more kid isn't a big deal, right?
Of course, I objected. Why should I take care of the baby? The baby's not mine. Besides, do you even realize what time it is? May's sleeping upstairs, and you're causing a disturbance to our neighbors. Then Emily chimed in.
The baby carries John's genes. As his wife, you have a right to raise the baby. Don't throw a tantrum just because you're upset about having your husband taken away.
Both John and Emily looked down on me, smugly displaying their affection in front of me. Seeing John like this, I felt my affection towards him cool down.
I'll just pack a few things.
We haven't finished discussing this. You both need to inform your parents too. Frustrated by the lack of resolution, I confronted John, but he evaded me.
I'd rather not involve the parents. Emily's dad is scary. Anyway, we're busy with a 2-week business trip. When we return, we'll arrange a meeting to talk. Just wait at home quietly.
My anger peaked, trembling as John and Emily hastily left the house. This is ridiculous. I'm not a babysitter or a convenience for you. All my efforts for John seemed wasted. I laughed at his childish and shallow actions and made a resolution. I began packing. The next day, I explained the situation to my boss and requested for leave. I decided to take my daughter and go back to my parents' house. But first, I visited someone who offered their support. This way, we were prepared for the upcoming discussion with John and Emily. Finally, when John returned from his so-called business trip, we agreed to meet again to discuss the future. I left my daughter with my parents and waited at home for their arrival. At around 7 p.m., the doorbell rang, welcoming John and Emily inside. They displayed their affection without paying me any mind.
Emily looks cute from any angle. I wish I had met you sooner.
Oh, John, from now on, I'll be the one to support you. Disgusted, I sighed and placed a filled-out divorce form on the table, speaking calmly. I want a divorce, John. I'll take custody of May. I'll also be asking for property division from both of you, and you two will be raising the baby yourselves.
Are you sure about this? You'll no longer be the wife of a CEO.
After my firm statement, John made a foolish comment. That's fine by me. A man who lies about work to cheat and make babies is neither a good husband nor a good father. John then smirked creepily.
Then you're fired as of today.
What? I couldn't understand how he reached that conclusion from our conversation.
You'll be the one in trouble if we divorce. You'll have to support May without any income. Besides, what will happen to Emily's child if we divorce now? At least stay with her for another year, then we'll announce the marriage after getting approval. How heartless can you be?
John's right. Don't interfere with our plans. You've always been inferior in family background, looks, and education. Just listen to us.
Ignoring their retorts, I continued. About the property division amount? John interrupted me.
You're just after money. How disappointing. I've paid you a salary for 7 years. That's your property division, right? You've lived comfortably thanks to me, the CEO. You can take it to court, but I know capable lawyers. You don't stand a chance.
Just how far will he go in belittling others? As I grew frustrated, a certain person emerged from the next room.
It's been a while since we met at Madison's wedding. We haven't seen each other since I delegated my responsibilities, but I never expected to meet like this.
Emily's father, Robert, a CEO of a top contracting company for John's firm, appeared, shocking the couple as their faces paled.
About the capable lawyer you mentioned, is that someone I introduced to you?
Confronted by him, John was at a loss for words, and Emily, his own daughter, was trembling and looking down. Robert, unfazed, continued.
Salary is compensation for labor, not a substitute for property division. It's only right to demand the market rate. Make sure to pay child support for May. Discuss the division of assets properly with Madison. Well, even if you are Emily's father, I don't think it's appropriate for you to interfere in mine and Madison's matters. Madison is asking for money, so I'll consider it, but Emily is pregnant with my child. If you have any humanity, Madison should just give up. Also, she's fired.
Robert grabbed John's collar after hearing his full argument.
You're the one who's fired. What?
Robert's tone suddenly changed, and he shouted, leaving John too shocked to resist.
After all Madison has done for you, how dare you do such things? You're not fit to lead the company. Step down immediately. This worthless company has grown only because of her and the staff's efforts. I've supported your company because of Emily, but now you're barely working. Enough with this. I'm sorry, sir.
His apology was too late.
And you, Emily, a woman who gets involved with a married man isn't fit to raise a child properly.
Robert raised his voice and glared at them both.
What's the matter with you? That's no way to talk to your own daughter. John, say something. He said horrible things to me. If we're going to be together, you can't just obey everything my father says. Convince him somehow.
Emily, seething with anger, confronted John, but he, usually so assertive, was frozen stiff by Robert's presence.
This wasn't supposed to happen.
John whispered in a faint voice, clearly in turmoil. To the confused pair, I addressed them with a smile on my face. It's really good that I had these 2 weeks of business trip to prepare for this. It all worked out perfectly. Emily glared at me, but I didn't have time to care about her feelings. I asked your father to wait in the next room. In a discussion like this, it's only right that your family should be involved, don't you think? I've been wondering how you were planning to hide your pregnancy while living at home.
Madison is right. If she hadn't told the truth, this would have become a terrible family secret. What a ridiculous plan you two came up with.
Emily's father sighed deeply.
I've heard about Madison from the staff managing your company. 7 years ago, she gave up numerous job offers, despite being top of her class, to work at your nearly bankrupt company and helped turn it around. How could you forget what she did for you and betray her so terribly?
Robert, giving John a cold look, continued.
I've been supporting your dream by continuing to finance it, but I've decided to cut off any ties with your company now. Please, wait. That's a separate issue, right? If your funding stops, my company will go bankrupt. It will cause trouble for our clients and employees will be left in the dark. Please, reconsider.
John, pale and desperate, begged on his knees, but Robert's decision was firm.
Don't ever call me your father-in-law. You have nothing to worry about. I intend to take care of all your company's employees, including Madison. They're too valuable to be wasted under a lazy scum like you. I've already informed your father about everything, and he's given his consent. Now you have to start over from scratch on your own. This is too much. Madison, please, don't leave me or the company. We've been through so much together. We can get a divorce, but you can't quit the company. Emily is cute, but the company needs someone as capable as you.
John, with bloodshot eyes, pleaded to me, but I just laughed it off. How selfish can you be? After all I've done for you and your betrayal, you seriously think I would stay? I'm getting a divorce and I'm definitely quitting. When I firmly declared my decision, John realized he had no way to argue and became suddenly weak. He completed the divorce papers as he trembled, and we were about to leave, but Emily, not yet giving up, blocked our way.
After all the trouble of finding someone my father was about to accept, this is pointless, and if the company collapses, I'll be unemployed too.
She approached her father with puppy eyes.
Since all the employees are going to your company, I can work there too, right? I'm your daughter, after all. And about the pregnancy, it was a lie so that I could get married quickly to John, so don't worry. I want you to apologize for how you spoke to me.
Emily shockingly confessed the truth. John collapsed to his knees in disbelief, and I was beyond words. Her father quietly approached her.
All the more reason not to forgive you. Make your own living from now on. Don't even think about coming back to my house.
After this, John and Emily started a shameful blame game against each other. Emily's father and I left the scene, hearing their angry shouts. The next day, after submitting the divorce papers, John and I became strangers. Through the capable lawyer introduced by Robert, I demanded and successfully received a total of $365,000 from John as the property division and child support. Emily, abandoned by both the company and her father, paid a property division of $12,000 in a lump sum and disappeared from our town, likely facing hard days ahead. As for me, I'm now immersing myself in work at Robert's company with familiar colleagues, adjusting to life with just my daughter and living peacefully. My former in-laws have apologized several times, promising to keep John away for good. My current peace is all thanks to the help and support from those around me. I am grateful to everyone, and I am determined to be a source of support for them, just as they have been for me.